Welcome to Dopamine Clinic, the place where you'll unlock the secrets of your mind and transform your life. It's the end of another school day, and your social media feed is filled with smiling faces, selfies, group photos, pictures of a perfect life. Everyone seems happy, successful, and put together. But as you scroll through, you feel a knot tightening in your stomach. It's not jealousy. It's something darker, a feeling that maybe you're not doing enough, not living up to the standard you see online. You know you're not alone. You see everyone posting about their accomplishments, their parties, their travels, their perfect friendships. It feels like you should be having those same experiences, but something inside of you is missing. You scroll through, desperately trying to feel something, but it's all numb. This is the reality many young people face, and it's a silent epidemic that we don't talk enough about: depression. It's the kind of depression that hides behind the smile. It's the kind that doesn't always look like sadness. Instead, it looks like indifference, like going through the motions of life, but not really feeling anything, the smile that hides the pain. Meet Jake, a 16-year-old high school student who seems to have everything going for him. He's popular, active on social media, and seems to have a ton of friends. But what no one sees is what happens when he's alone. At night, Jake lies in bed with his mind racing, his heart heavy, and his body feeling completely drained. No matter how hard he tries, he can't seem to shake the constant feeling of emptiness. It's not that he's sad about anything in particular, he just feels like there's this weight on his chest that never goes away. No one knows this. To his friends, Jake is just another happy teenager, posting funny TikToks and hanging out with his crew. They'd never guess he's struggling. This is what depression often looks like in youth today: hidden, quiet, and far too easy to ignore. Depression doesn't always come with the stereotypical signs of sadness or crying. It often manifests as a lack of interest in things you used to enjoy. It shows up as irritability, a constant feeling of tiredness, or a sense of numbness where emotions are concerned. It's not always easy to spot, but it's there, and it's more common than you think. The social media lie, comparison, and the pressure to be perfect. Jake's struggle is compounded by the pressure he feels from social media. It's hard to feel good about yourself when your feed is full of other people's curated highlights. Social media encourages comparison. It creates a distorted version of reality, one where everyone's life looks more exciting, more glamorous, and more successful than your own. And yet, it's all fake. What's worse is that this constant comparison breeds anxiety. You begin to feel like you have to live up to this unrealistic standard of perfection. It could be the perfect body, the perfect grades, or the perfect social life. Social media doesn't show you the struggle behind the scenes, it only shows you the highlight reel. The reality is that most people are struggling in some way, but social media never tells you that. The silent struggle, feeling alone in a crowd. One of the hardest parts of depression is feeling isolated, even when you're surrounded by people. This isolation isn't about physical loneliness, it's about emotional disconnection. In a world where we're constantly told that we need to be on, constantly performing and presenting the best version of ourselves, it becomes incredibly difficult to admit when you're struggling. The fear of being judged, misunderstood, or looked down upon is enough to keep many people silent. This is the case for Emily, a 17-year-old who, on the outside, appears to have it all. She's the captain of her school's debate team, active in several clubs, and has a large circle of friends. But inside, Emily is exhausted. She's tired of pretending. Every day feels like a performance, and no matter how much she achieves, it's never enough to stop the feelings of emptiness. When Emily does try to reach out, she's met with the usual advice: just focus on the positives, or you're too young to feel like this. But this advice only makes her feel worse. She begins to question herself. Why can't I just be happy? Why can't I feel the way I'm supposed to feel? This cycle of silence continues, and the depression grows stronger. The more she hides, the deeper the depression sinks into her soul. The reality of youth depression. What's going on in the brain? It's important to understand what's happening in the brain when someone is experiencing depression. Depression isn't just a state of mind, it's also a biological issue. Neurotransmitters in the brain, like serotonin and dopamine, play a key role in regulating mood. When these chemicals are out of balance, it can lead to feelings of sadness, fatigue, and hopelessness. For young people, this issue is compounded by the challenges of adolescence. Puberty is a time when the brain undergoes major changes, and the stress of school, social pressures, and expectations can exacerbate mental health issues. What many young people don't realize is that depression doesn't discriminate. It can affect anyone, regardless of their outward success. Why it's hard to talk about. The stigma around mental health. Even though mental health issues are more common than we realize, there is still a stigma surrounding depression, especially among young people. Many teenagers feel embarrassed or ashamed to talk about their mental health struggles because they fear being labeled as weak or dramatic. This stigma keeps them from reaching out for help, even when they need it most. In fact, research shows that a significant number of young people don't seek help for their depression because they feel like they should be able to handle it on their own. This is especially true for boys, who are often told that expressing emotions is a sign of weakness. For many, the pressure to tough it out can be overwhelming, and the fear of judgment makes it even harder to open up. The hidden epidemic, the statistics we're ignoring. While the mental health crisis in youth is often discussed in vague terms, the statistics are staggering. According to the National Institute of Mental Health, about 3.2 million teens aged 12 to 17 had at least one major depressive episode in 2020. That's nearly 14% of all teens in the US yet. Despite these alarming numbers, only about 40% of teens with depression receive treatment. Why is this happening? Why aren't we addressing this issue head-on? The answer lies in the normalization of the problem. Depression has been normalized to the point where it's often dismissed as just growing pains or teen angst. But this is not just a phase, it's a serious mental health issue that requires attention and action. How dark psychology can help us understand the struggle. To truly understand youth depression, we need to take a deep dive into the psychology behind it. Dark psychology isn't about manipulating others. It's about understanding the hidden forces at play in the human mind. In the case of depression, dark psychology can help explain why young people often feel trapped in a cycle of negative thoughts. It's about understanding how the brain processes pain, both physical and emotional, and how unresolved trauma can manifest in ways that are hard to understand. For many young people, depression is tied to their sense of identity. Who are they? What is their purpose? In a world where everything seems fleeting, it's easy to lose sight of one's true self. Depression doesn't just cloud their emotions, it clouds their sense of direction. And when you don't know who you are or where you're going, it's easy to feel lost. The danger of unacknowledged depression. The biggest danger of this hidden epidemic is the lack of intervention. If depression is left unaddressed, it can spiral out of control. Teenagers may turn to unhealthy coping mechanisms like substance abuse or self-harm in an attempt to numb the pain. Some may even contemplate suicide as a way out. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, suicide is the second leading cause of death for people aged 10 to 24 in the US. Why we need to start talking about it? The most important thing we can do is start talking about depression openly and without judgment. It's okay not to be okay, but it's also essential to understand that you don't have to suffer in silence. We need to break the stigma around mental health and create a culture where young people can feel safe asking for help. We need to make it clear that there is strength in seeking support, whether that's through therapy, talking to a trusted adult, or simply reaching out to a friend. Now that we've discussed the silent epidemic of youth depression, it's time to talk about what we can do to fight back against it. The truth is, depression can be overwhelming, especially for young people who are still trying to figure out who they are in a world that constantly demands perfection. But here's the key: it's okay to not be okay. And the first step to healing is breaking the silence. The power of vulnerability, opening up about your struggles. For many, the idea of talking about depression is terrifying. Vulnerability feels like a weakness, especially in a world where everyone is constantly putting on a brave face. But the reality is that vulnerability is strength. When you open up about what you're going through, it creates space for others to do the same. Take Emily, for example. Earlier, we talked about how she was suffering silently, wearing a mask of perfection that everyone believed. But after one tough conversation with a close friend, she found that her struggles were not unique. She wasn't the only one feeling overwhelmed by life's pressures. It's not about airing your problems for the world to see, but finding someone you trust, someone who will listen without judgment. Whether it's a friend, a parent, or a therapist, sharing your feelings is a powerful step toward breaking free from the emotional weight of depression. Seeking professional help, therapy, and counseling while talking to a friend is a crucial step. Depression often requires professional intervention. Therapy, counseling, and psychiatric help can provide the necessary tools to cope with depression and begin the healing process. Therapists aren't there to tell you what's wrong with you. They're there to help you understand your emotions and develop strategies to deal with them. For many young people, therapy can be an intimidating concept. The stigma around mental health treatment often discourages people from seeking the help they need. But the truth is, therapy doesn't make you weak. It makes you stronger. Therapists provide a safe space to explore your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors without fear of judgment. It's important to understand that seeing a therapist is not a sign of failure. In fact, it's one of the strongest decisions you can make for your mental health. Therapy helps you navigate the complexities of depression by teaching you coping skills, emotional regulation, and how to process difficult feelings. Medication when it's needed. For some, therapy alone might not be enough to overcome depression. In these cases, medication may be a necessary tool. Antidepressants can help restore the balance of neurotransmitters in the brain, such as serotonin and dopamine, which are often disrupted during depression. While medication doesn't solve everything, it can provide the mental clarity needed to engage in therapy and start making changes in your life. If you're considering medication, it's important to consult with a doctor or psychiatrist who can guide you through the process. They will work with you to find the right medication and dosage that suits your needs. Medication should never be the only solution, but when combined with therapy, it can be an effective tool in overcoming depression. Building a support system, leaning on others. While therapy and medication are important tools, there's no substitute for a strong support system. Isolation is one of the most damaging effects of depression, and surrounding yourself with people who care about you is key to recovery. Support groups, whether in person or online, can provide a sense of belonging and validation. Being surrounded by people who understand what you're going through helps you realize that you're not alone in your struggles. For many young people, connecting with others who share similar experiences can be incredibly healing. It's important to reach out to your family and friends, even if it feels hard at first. Your loved ones want to help, but they might not know how to if you don't speak up. Having an open, honest conversation with someone you trust can make a world of difference. They may not have all the answers, but simply knowing that someone is there for you can be incredibly reassuring. Taking care of your body. The connection between physical and mental health. The mind and body are connected, which means that taking care of your physical health is just as important as taking care of your mental health. Exercise, for instance, is one of the most effective ways to combat depression. When you exercise, your body releases endorphins, natural chemicals that boost your mood and relieve stress. But it's not just about hitting the gym. It's about finding ways to move your body that feel good. Whether it's a walk in nature, a dance session in your room, or a sport you love. Physical activity can improve both your mental and physical well-being. Eating healthy is another important aspect of mental health. A balanced diet rich in nutrients, vitamins, and minerals helps your brain function properly. Avoiding excessive sugar, caffeine, and junk food can prevent mood swings and promote a more stable emotional state. Mindfulness and meditation, calming the mind. One of the most powerful tools for managing depression is mindfulness. Mindfulness is the practice of being present in the moment, paying attention to your thoughts and feelings without judgment. It allows you to observe your emotions, rather than getting overwhelmed by them. Meditation is a great way to practice mindfulness. Even just 5 minutes a day of focused breathing or guided meditation can help calm your mind and reduce anxiety. Meditation allows you to step away from the overwhelming thoughts that fuel depression, creating a sense of inner peace and balance. In addition to mindfulness, journaling can also be a helpful tool. Writing down your thoughts helps you process your emotions and gain insight into your struggles. It allows you to track your progress, reflect on your feelings, and develop a better understanding of your mental state. Setting small goals, taking one step at a time. One of the most challenging aspects of depression is feeling overwhelmed by everything you need to do. When you're in the midst of depression, even getting out of bed can feel like an insurmountable task. That's why it's important to set small, achievable goals. Start with small tasks, things like making your bed, brushing your teeth, or taking a shower. These are basic actions that can help you feel a sense of accomplishment. Once you've completed a small task, move on to the next. Over time, you'll find that these small victories add up, and you'll feel more confident in your ability to tackle larger challenges. Setting goals gives you something to work towards and helps break the cycle of hopelessness. It's important to be patient with your self-recovery from depression. Takes time. But with each small step forward, you're building momentum, creating a new narrative, changing the way you see yourself. One of the most important aspects of overcoming depression is changing the way you think about yourself. Depression often involves a distorted view of who you are, feeling unworthy, broken, or incapable. To heal, you need to shift that narrative. Start by practicing self-compassion. Treat yourself with the same kindness and understanding that you would offer a friend. Stop being so hard on yourself. You don't need to be perfect, and it's okay to ask for help. Affirmations can also play a big role in rebuilding your self-esteem. Start telling yourself that you are worthy of love, happiness, and success. Even when it feels hard to believe, continue affirming these positive thoughts. The road to recovery, hope, and healing. Depression isn't something you can just snap out of. It's a long, ongoing process that requires time, effort, and support. But the road to recovery is not a solitary one. It's filled with steps, small and large, that bring you closer to healing. By speaking up, seeking professional help, building a support system, taking care of your body, and practicing mindfulness, you can start to break free from the chains of depression. And remember, you are not alone. There is always hope. No matter how dark things may seem, there is always a way forward. Your story is not over, and healing is possible. In the next video, we'll dive deeper into how to overcome the negative thought patterns that fuel depression and provide you with even more tools for building resilience. For now, take this first step toward healing and know that you have the strength to keep going. Healing starts with acknowledging the pain and allowing yourself to feel again.